welcome back to the channel. I've never attempted anything quite as big as this before. I don't know whether I'm going to split this up into smaller videos or I'm just going to put the whole thing out like a movie. I've got so much footage and pictures and sound bites and things like that, I honestly don't know where to start. One gun, complete. June, July, August, September, October, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. As of the time of recording this video, this whole process has been 8 months in the making. It all started back in June of last year. I started talking to a really good friend of mine called Nukes. I started talking to Nukes about putting together a Halo cosplay, because he's one of the only people I know with a 3D printer. I have no experience with 3D printers, so I assumed that most were the same. What I came to learn is there's a lot of different factors. He told me that, like balance and temperature, etc, etc. But originally, when we were initially talking about the process, I think the pair of us had a vague idea that we could probably do this, that I could probably get him to make a full Master Chief armour set, and I think at first he thought that as well. As it turned out, we had a really hot summer. I think his situation is that his 3D printer is on the top level of his house, so obviously it was baking up there and he wasn't having much success with any kind of build whatsoever up there, so he pretty much put it off for a while. Then I think we both mutually decided to not pursue the whole armour done by him. So I asked him if he would be happy just to make me a pistol, because the pistol, like I assumed at the time, would be really hard to make because it's small and it's got intricate details and I wanted everything to look good. So I asked him to do that with his 3D printer, which he set off doing. But I still wanted the armour. I think I'd got it in my head. Do you know, it's so long ago that I actually can't remember why I started this in the first place. But I think I got it into my head that if I did this, then I could get loads of work. I could go to cons and get paid to go to cons, especially if it looked good. I would most definitely get paid to go into work more often, especially when there was like holidays and special occasions, things like that, which of course I'm well up for. So having all that in my mind, I still wanted the outfit, I still wanted this cosplay, because I've been a Halo fan since the first Halo. Back in those days with the original Xbox, I had a GameCube with the remake of Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil, which was awesome, because Resident Evil is awesome. Check out the remake of Res 2. Wow, what a plug, Andy. A friend of mine at the time had an original Xbox, and one time I went over there and he handed me what now I've come to know is referred to as the Duke. I thought he'd handed me the Starship Enterprise. He just gave me it. I was like, oh, what the hell is this? So I had to go shooting grunts and elites and stuff, and I was like, this is awesome. And I made the decision right there and then that I was trading in my GameCube and getting an Xbox and getting Halo. And I did that exact thing. Got it. Never looked back. It subsequently has ruined first-person shooters for me forever, because it just is the best. It's my Star Wars, especially the Bungie games with the story in the games themselves and the possibility to look into outside lore. Like they had novels at that point, moving on to Halo 2 and 3, coming out years and years later. They had multiple novels. They were even trying their hands at like live action marketing for the third game in particular. They had comics and graphic novels. YouTube was just becoming a thing at that time, so you could find all the snippets of live action viral marketing, or as well as like actual television marketing that they'd done at the time. Even though at the same time as it being a massive worldwide phenomenon of a video game, the whole thing felt very personal to me as well, and I'm sure nearly every Halo fan, particularly from those days, felt the same. It was our Halo. We felt included somehow, even though we had less communication with the company making it at the time, I'm sure, than today when 343 are in charge, and there's infamously a disconnect that they're now trying to right, but a disconnect between the studio and the fans. At that time, you never felt like there was, even though I don't know many people that were trying to contact Bungie directly to speak about any issues or anything like that with the games. Everybody seemed to just take it as it came and roll with it. There were things that people didn't like in, say, Halo 3 versus Halo 2, in particular, like multiplayer, certain things like that. I loved every game, right up to Reach. I loved all of them. ODST, Reach, 1, 2 and 3, all of them, amazing. But I digress. I've turned this into a love letter to Halo video, but it sort of is, because this is why I really, really wanted to do the cosplay. Since being put in touch with a lot of cosplay people, I've realised that there's a lot of people that just like to dress up and cosplay. Cosplayers, or cosplayees. And there are Halo fans. There are people that really like to just dress up in general and go to cons, and there are people that love the armour and love the lore and love the games and love everything. I'm probably in that latter camp. I love Halo, like, absolutely love it. The 343 games have left me disappointed, but that's because I love them and I wanted them to be better. I still regularly play Halo 5. You can catch me online. Arena Slayer, which, you know, sorry 343, is the only mode worth playing in Halo 5, in my humble opinion. But as I said, this is why I wanted the suit. In particular, I wanted a Halo 3 or Halo 2 anniversary armour, because I couldn't get it 3D printed, and I definitely didn't have the money for a 3D printer. I had to look into other avenues. Now we're talking 2 months after initially planning this, and I think it was around about August of last year, I started asking friends, like, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? Nobody knew anybody. Till I found one person, compared to the other people I was talking to, a relatively new friend, so I hadn't asked him straight away, I hadn't thought. And then I realised, actually, he is a cosplayer. Why am I not asking this guy? So I asked him, do you know anybody that makes Halo cosplays with a reasonable price? And he said, oh, you need to speak to Dan. And I was like, all right, why? So, well, he makes armour out of foam constantly for people, and he's good at it. I said, all right, cool. He put me in touch with Dan. I asked him, and he said, yeah, cool. I'll try and put something together. And obviously, at that time, he'd got quite a few commissions on the go, so I couldn't, like... I couldn't get it done straight away, basically. And I understood that, and I thought, you know, that's great. It's going to get done, but I really wanted it now. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and I found myself in the job centre, and oh, god damn it, I've skipped ahead again. So I got Dan involved. He gave me the price, and I said, cool, how much do you need to start? He gave me the price. We moved on. I then started looking into undersuits, because I didn't want the, like, you know, 90% of all Halo cosplays, they all look amazing. Like, when you look at them, they're photographed so well. The angles and the depth of the paint and things like that, they always look amazing. And then somebody's wearing like a baggy t-shirt and a pair of jeans underneath it. I didn't want to go that way. I wanted it to be, you know, I wanted it to look like I was wearing super soldier armour with some Mjolnir armour on top of it. I wanted it to look amazing. I found out very quickly that there are surprisingly few people that have anything to do with or make or anything to do with undersuits for Halo at all. I found a couple of places. There's one place that's doing sort of a spongy, thin, lycra type undersuit that's got details just printed onto it, like a t-shirt type idea. £300 for a little onesie type thing that must have cost them like 30 quid. And then for him to have printed onto it the details, £300. I couldn't believe it. I actually messaged the website and said, is this a mistake? And they said, no. Then I found there were various sort of Chinese websites that were doing like a similar sort of 3D printed lycra jumpsuit type thing. You could get various different ones. The problem with those is that they were all Halo 4, the new Halo ones. And they were sort of a bluish colour as well, which I really didn't want. I needed it to be black. It had to be black. And I found the black one. They even had like a hood, so your neck would be covered, but that was even more money. Can't justify spending this amount of money on undersuits only when the armour is surely going to cost me like a few £100s. I might as well just buy like nearly £1,000's worth of deluxe Halo 3 official armour that you can buy on eBay these days for about £600. That's how much it was going to end up costing me. Like, with all that in my head, and it was like a bit of a dilemma, I started looking into weapons as well, and I just like, oh god, I can't afford to buy like a really good looking thing. And I looked into the boom core things, but they were all like little tiny pea shooters and stuff, and it's like, oh god, this is going to be harder than I thought. Around about August, had to go to the job centre. And I went in there and I was like, I'd been concentrating so hard on this and going to work and what have you that I'd not really been doing what I should have been doing. I saw an advisor that I don't normally see and I thought, oh god, here we go. I need to pull something out of my backside here so I don't end up, you know, getting penalised in any way. So I started rambling on about this, about all of this stuff that I'd been putting together, and I was literally just using this as a leave me alone, don't penalise me please. I have been doing things, it's not in the traditional sense, but I have been doing stuff sort of. I got a response of, oh well hang on, we might be able to help. I went, alright, not thinking anything of it whatsoever because, I mean, come on. It turned out, long story short, that I was able to get part funding. It was by no means anywhere near the total cost, but it was a help. It got the ball rolling. It was a bit of a process that I won't bore you with. But honestly, if you're in a similar position to me and you live in England and you have reasonable people in your job centre and you are in touch with people that can, you know, at least guarantee that you will get more work out of it. The funding is public funding. It's there for people that need it. If you need a suit for a job interview or shoes, something like that, that's where all this falls in. Consider this video not only my journey into cosplay, but also a small lesson in what you're entitled to as human beings living on this particular part of the world. From there, I kept looking into undersuits and things like that, and by this point I was able to give Dan the deposit, and once he'd cleared away all his other commissions that he was able to get started on that. I had to play the waiting game, but at the same time play the find a decent undersuit game, and also where are my props going to come from? How am I going to pull this off? So I started looking into any kind of like weaponry that I could get hold of. Anything I could do or I could get and paint and manipulate and make better. By this point I was already a massive fan of Cosplay Chris and his custom collectibles and using dirt from the yard and all of that. Sorry Chris if this ever gets to you. So I had in my head that I could maybe get a toy, amp it up, make it look better and use it. And then I quickly found like a sizing problem when I was looking into it. In reality, these things are like huge. And if you say get the toy version of that, it's like a little handgun and it doesn't look that good. I had authenticity in my head. It had to be right, because in particular if I ended up in say cons and I was being paid to be there and there were people, just guests turning up in better, you know, outfits than me, then I had no right to be there. So I had to get it right. It was a main concern of mine to get it absolutely spot on. Without spending hundreds of pounds, there was no real option for me. I started looking on the internet for building tips or people that 3D print for cheap. I quickly found Andrew DFT. Thank you so much, Andrew DFT, for showing me the light. He has amazing tutorials on his YouTube that just helped me out a lot. I'll go into that in more detail later, but he basically just saved my life. I just knew I needed time and practice, so I started off on an SMG, little submachine gun from Halo 2. I thought, perfect, it's the iconic front cover of the game, two SMGs. I thought that would be amazing. I could be that Halo 2 front cover. So I got to work on the first of 3 SMGs. Hey, camera ran out of battery and I pretty much just carried on with the build without you. So sorry about that, but I can show you the results. This was my first ever attempt. I didn't fire this side, so you can see like the rough edges and the hack job that I basically did. On the other side I fired it so the details came out a little better. Things are a little bit smoother along the edges. I mean, you know, it's fun to hold. I've got 2 going on at the same time, which may be one of those bite off more than you can chew moments, but so far they've come out a lot better. We're getting there. I'm going to continue with the detail on them. You probably, as you're watching this, I don't even know if I'm going to leave this in, but I'm doing a lot of this freehand because a problem that I ran into with this one, the paper I'm using is so flimsy that it totally fucked up. So I'm using my eye and my ruler as much as I can for certain things to get the lines right. Right, I've got that. And the other thing that's making this particular build quite difficult is because I'm doing 2 at a time, I keep wanting to push ahead really quick, and obviously once I've done a certain amount of detail I have to move on to the other one and do that as well, so that's making it take quite a lot of time, but it's going to be worth it. Why am I doing this to myself? I've never attempted anything like this before, and I'm doing it because I know I've got people working on the rest of the armour. I've got someone making a neck cowl for me. Dan of Fireteam Ascension is making my armour, and Nukes is currently finishing off the 3D print of my Magnum. So I'm thinking I'm getting a Magnum. I want some SMGs because obviously the armour is going to be the Halo 2 armour, but I also want to build an assault rifle. My initial thought was to be super accurate with all this, but I'm thinking assault rifle just because it's iconic. There's obviously different details with each game that it features in, but it always looks like the Halo assault rifle in every game. It's a lot more difficult than doing 2 SMGs at the same time. But we'll try. I'm going to try. I think I've kept you long enough. I'm going to carry on with this and I'll update you as I go. When I'd got to the end point of the SMGs, I'd painted them and I hadn't quite weathered them at that point. And that's when word started filtering over bit by bit. I started receiving the pictures from Dan of the suit being near to completion and started making arrangements to go over there. Hi everyone, I made it. Just stick it on there.
That'll be perfect.
Is it?
Yeah. Can you move your head much, or?
Yeah, it's quite loose actually.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, because I don't want it like choking you.
No.
And there'll be a zip on the back of that to make it.
A zip? I thought it was going to be like Velcro in a.
Oh yeah. Zips, so. But obviously, awesome. I'll have it so that it's a zip that you can fully open.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant.
So I'll get on with paint job and the zip.
Awesome. See you later. Thank you. So that was the gate corner. Lovely people. The update to give you so far is that I ordered the wetsuit. I think I explained that before. The payment didn't clear on the other end according to the company, so they didn't send it. We're now on Saturday. I was originally supposed to be picking up the armour tomorrow, and I was supposed to have everything on my end set up, or at least that's what I wanted. But gloves haven't turned up, and obviously the wetsuit didn't turn up, so I've ended up having to do like a click and collect with a different company, thankfully for a bit less money, but the money that I wanted back in time to do it has not turned up, so I can't do that. Well, I have done that, but it's put us down. I literally have enough to make the final payment on the suit, but I don't have enough money to go get it from Sheffield. Like I say, the gloves haven't turned up. I'm supposed to have been in on Halloween, and then my boss changed his mind and said, how about the weekend? So technically the deadline's been knocked back a few days, but that's just made it even more frustrating, really. This has become quite a stressful endeavour for like for an adult playtime. If there's anything else, I'll update you. I can't remember. So yeah.
I thought at the time that the suit was closer to completion than it actually was. I suppose I was so excited about the whole thing, I just completely... I don't think I even asked, is it done? Hey, just a quick update. Today's the day I am going to Sheffield, and that was silly, sorry. Today's the day that I'm going to Sheffield to pick up the suit. I've had an absolute nightmare picking up a wetsuit. I think that was the last update that I did with you, was that I was going to pick up a wetsuit. I've had the neck cowl made by, Gate Corner, as you know. This morning, however, we had ordered another pair of gloves, because the gloves that I came are like the standard sort of cheap paintball gloves that are really, they're good for what it is, but then I know that I'm going to be wearing it a lot, so like the fingers are a bit glovey, if you know what I mean, like they're loose. So I ordered another pair that are better for the job, and this morning they sent, the eBay company sent the exact same gloves as I already had, only in green, even though we ordered black. And I foresaw an absolute nightmare of returns and things like that, but thankfully Shannon came upstairs and started doing some stuff up here, and by the time she came downstairs, the company had already got back to her and are sending out the gloves we ordered first class. So that's really cool. It means that I don't have them for the trip today, but it shouldn't matter, because there's a lot to do, there's a lot to fit and things like that. So I think gloves are going to be like the least of my worries today. So yeah, today there's a lot riding on it, because if it's wrong, then I don't have much option but to leave it there. And I hope it's done in the next few days, and hope it arrives by the weekend. I got word that it was okay on his end for me to go down there, and I set off.
Hi guys, sorry for the shaky cam. I just thought I'd update you all. Set off on my journey to Sheffield, and Dan didn't even give me his address. I had like part of it, but I didn't have the whole thing. So now I ended up managing to post in a group chat that we're all in. Somebody got hold of him and he finally gave me it. So panic over, but I absolutely, well, I shit myself. We're on our way now to Sheffield, just barely out of my hometown. 2 hours to go. Yeah, another quick update. The weather is absolutely horrible. I hope it's nicer further south. Thankfully the rain stopped, but it's still really wet on the roads. So I'm gonna take it easy.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, continue straight onto Middlesbrough Road, A171.
Now you know where I am. Now, obviously, while I was down there was plenty of time for like a fitting. So I got down there, we tried on bits and pieces. Now, it's worth mentioning that at this time, I had it in my head that I was going to wear a wetsuit as the undersuit. Everybody told me, yo, you'll be sweating. And I was like, yeah, of course, I know I'll be sweating. But what I didn't realise was just how much. Now, even outside in the winter, it would have been too hot. I tried it on a few times, just walking around in the wetsuit, and it was fine. And I started to really think, like, it was actually okay. So I travelled down to Sheffield with my wetsuit on my bottoms as my trousers that day, and tried on all the armour with it on, and it worked for the most part. I think the main problem was that I'd sent all my measurements to Dan, and I'm a lot bigger around the middle than I am on my arms and legs. My arms and legs are quite skinny compared to my midriff. Anything that was supposed to be in the middle of me fit more or less perfectly. Legs and arms were really loose. We tried all these bits on. He took measurements of everything, and I also had time to interview him. So of course, after all of that, I assumed everything would be just hunky-dory and get it all done. I could just go home, finish off my bits and pieces and wait for it to arrive. If only life was that simple. Just a quick update. Since the interview, I came back and the suit got upgraded. I say upgraded, I mean he added more stuff to it. Everything looked like it was going well. He sent a picture back that looked like he'd painted it in drain pipe green and then he found the right colour and put that on, and that looked really good. And then it's been an absolute nightmare just trying to get it couriered over to me. So that's been the struggle over the last week or so, I think, since the last time I turned my camera on. I got a new desk here in the computer room, which allowed for the computer being on this side and an L-shaped area where I can do weapons and stuff. And I thought, well, what better to do in a new area with all the new stuff? And I bought new craft blades. I got a heat gun properly. I got a new cutting mat and all sorts of stuff. So I printed out a new template, and I'm in the midst of doing the assault rifle. It's going really well, as you can see. I'm really happy with it so far. I think I might redo these parts here because they're just removable and I can use them as a template on themselves again. So I'm not that happy with how rough these parts are. I don't know if you can make that out, but just along these beveled edges, they're not that good. These bits I feel like you can get away with because your hand's going to be there most of the time. All there's left to do is the hood part, the bit that makes it the most recognisable automatic weapon in gaming history, in my opinion. I can't think of another machine gun in a game that's as iconic as this. I just couldn't deny myself the joy of making this. It's gone so well. I'm just so happy with the detail on it and the way it's come together. It's going to photograph brilliantly, and that's what matters. I want the suit to photograph well, and I want this to photograph well. That's all. With that said, my job for the day is to finish this off. So that's what I'm doing. But also, what I'm doing is actually waiting for the suit to arrive. Today is an exciting day, guys.
very quickly little deadlines started popping up everywhere. There was a point where I'd have been able to go, you know, cosplay up in the shop and be paid to do it. Missed it. Another one popped up, missed it. It kept going like that because, I mean, there was a lot of paint issues to start with. Then there was a mailing issue. We couldn't find anyone for a long time that would take a package that big from there to here. We finally managed to sort that out, so that happened. Then the suit arrived.
Oh god, this isn't gonna work. I received the suit. As you can probably see, obviously I'm going to do a full showing of the suit at some point. It all came and it was all absolutely fine. There was a couple of minor things that I wasn't really happy with, but they were down to the fact that after I'd been down and I'd spoken to Dan, there was a couple of things that were supposed to be addressed and changed and they weren't. Largely down to circumstantial, understandable stuff basically. But unfortunately the helmet got kind of wrecked. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it happened either way. The important thing is that I'm now moving on, and I've been trying my best to do something that I haven't done in a long time, which is pepakura or whatever it is. I've had like 3 attempts so far. And this is what I like to call the Goldilocks review. The first one was far too big. As you can see, it looks okay for a first attempt, but I thought, you know. And the second attempt I did was far too small. Now, I'm just starting the last one, which I'm hoping is going to be just right. But who knows? In the meantime, I've been setting up everything else. I even made an assault rifle. I'm so happy with this. So very happy. I've even put a torch in the end. It's not something that you can just turn on, you have to pull it out and turn it on. But once it's in there, you know, that's just cool, is it not? Feel free to tell me in the comments down below. I've got a couple of people to thank, not only for this and the SMGs, but I reached out to the man himself for advice on the helmet situation when that went wrong. Andrew DFT, he's on YouTube, he does tutorials for mostly weapons, but he does armour tutorials as well, and he's got a couple of painting tips and tricks and things like that as well. I reached out to him. The guy, he lives in New Zealand, and he's a very busy guy, admittedly by himself, that he doesn't have a lot of time these days, but he took the time to reply to me, which is amazing because, I mean, I don't really watch normal TV, and obviously I watch a lot of movies, but YouTube is what I do. Obviously I make videos, but I watch it all the time, so for a guy that I've been watching and taking tips from and building from, then actually takes the time to get back to me, well, that's as close to starstruck as I will ever get. But everything else with the armour looks amazing, like the wrist gauntlets, don't they? You know, don't they scream like absolutely kick-ass? I mean, you know, obviously they fit a lot better when I've got the undersuit on and everything. It's all up there, it's all ready to go, it just needs a helmet. So I'm trying my best to get this done. I've gone out and bought some resin today, which is, the idea is you get as far as, well, further than the big one that went wrong. You get that far, build the entire thing, maybe put a couple of little supports in it so that the whole thing doesn't bow. PVA the entire paper model that you've done, so it gives it that little bit extra strength, and then find fast glass resin. That's what I've been told by a very good friend of mine. They told me fast glass resin. I've also ordered the visor for it and some gold covers, but for the time being this is what I'm doing. So yeah, as you can see, I'm right this very second doing the other half of that front part right here. Found a Halo mug, how cool is that? Just making the other half of it. It's all really fiddly and annoying, but you know, that's what we're doing. I'll give you a quick tour of the shit. This is a thigh piece that for some reason has a Batman glove inside it, as you do. So that's, whoa, there it goes. That's one thigh. This is the other. As you can see there, he's highlighted some and did some damage work on it, and that's like, oh, I'm very thankful for that. That's the butt, and it goes right round. I won't pull it out because everything will fall. Obviously, there's the gun, and those are the lower leg, the upper arm, and the gauntlets all in one easy piece. Now the shoes are a little less detailed than I was hoping for. Apart from like around the side and the back, they look great, but at the front there, I feel like there was clearly not enough time to finish. And Dan, if you're listening, don't get disheartened by that. The neck cowl, which I'm actually going to glue into this. So it'll sit quite nicely at the front there, just a little bit further back possibly, and I'm going to put some more foam there so that it can cover a little bit more, which is right there. And obviously the chest piece, which is huge. Right now, like I say, I'm desperately trying to put the helmet together as quickly as possible because there's a lot of stuff going on, but I also have had like a personal thing come up, a quite important thing that has made me have to drop everything I'm doing, including work, and just get in there. I'll discuss it at some point, but I don't feel like discussing it right now is a good idea because I'm sort of still in the middle of it. So every spare moment I'm getting is dedicated to finishing this lot off. Bear with me. I hope I still have at least 10 subscribers by the end of this. That'd be nice. By the time this video hits, this is going to be horrible to edit. It was at this point that I had changed my mind about how accurate the undersuit had to be, and it was more about being practical. Whilst all this was going on, me and my partner had to take over full care of my grandfather, who suffers with vascular dementia. His care company at the time stopped turning up, so I had to put holidays in at work. Me and my partner dropped everything and just started focusing on my grandfather. For me, that was really difficult to deal with because the man pretty much raised me. He was one of two main stable role model figures in my life. It was very difficult for me to be around the horrible disease every single day, 4 times a day. So making the weapons and the helmet really helped me at the time. I had something to focus my mind on and keep my hands busy and keep my mind busy, and it helped the situation. And the helmet and the weapons at the time came out really well, and I painted everything at my grandfather's garage. It definitely came out better because of the situation. Obviously the situation was horrible, that me and my partner
placed in through no fault of anyone except the care company that let my grandfather down. I have a lot of family that are involved, but it was only us that had, you know, the relative time to be able to take this over. So at the time of me trying to put all this together, that happened, and it almost left me more time to be able to get things done faster, which is strange, but it's true. And in a funny way, if my grandfather leaves this plane of existence, the memory of putting this all together will be forever tied with him, which is, well, it's sort of a bittersweet thing, but it's a nice thing for me in a way that like I'll get to think of that time where we were able to drop everything and care for him, and at the same time I was able to do all of this and create all of this stuff. Anyway, onwards. The assault rifle had come on very well, and I'd painted it, and I'd found all sorts of paints in my grandfather's garage as well that he was never going to use again, and I asked if it was okay to use. In particular, these little bits of silver paint, chrome paint, were in there, so I could make all sorts of battle damage and wear on the weapons and on the helmet, and add a bit more to what was already there on the suit. To make it look even more worn. In particular for that Halo 2 anniversary look, the whole suit, even though the idea in the lore is that it's a brand new set of armour for him, is all completely scuffed like it had been used before. So it'd be interesting to find out that it was actually worn by a different Spartan before John 117 picked it up. Just a thought. So yeah, obviously I put the helmet together and the assault rifle, and I had the 2 SMGs. Now, my helmet fell apart. The one that I'd made fell apart. So, having learned everything that had gone wrong with the previous helmet, I decided to do another one. And this time I decided to get some card. I printed out another stencil, so that's something else I'm doing. The main thing was all of that sort of kids A4 card. I managed to put everything onto that and made this out of it, and as a result all I really needed to do, because it's such a durable material, was use stronger glue. This time I used hot glue instead of Pritt stick, and once it was done I used PVA to strengthen it, and I added loads and loads of foam internally as well to strengthen the shape of everything that was going to be left. I then tore up a t-shirt and an old pillowcase, an old pillow I should say, and made the internals, and used the visor from the previous helmet, so I didn't have to order another one of those. All of that's taken about 4 months. Hello, Abby.
Come on. Mummy. Come on. Mummy.
Go and go see. I've been invaded.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Go in your bedroom, good girl.
Oh, my life. All in all, this all culminated in a visit to the shop I work at, Game. And I was able to go there for a weekend, like on a Saturday afternoon, between calls at my grandfather's house, and take pictures with kids and grown-ups, freak a few people out, and make a lot of people smile. And it was great. It went really well, and quite honestly, it was the best day ever. Now, even though I'm really happy with the new helmet, there are parts of it that could use a bit of TLC and finishing off, quite frankly. I mean, obviously there's these parts here that need the sort of pipes, which I'm assuming is like feeding oxygen for when they're in space and things like that, is maybe the technical reason behind it. But I didn't have that in time, but the helmet looked good enough that no one really noticed. I also want to fit LEDs into these side parts here, and lights to make it look really awesome, and be able to switch them on at will. Well, that's about it. Now, obviously, this is a lot of stuff, a lot of information. I've never done a video of this size, so I don't, even at this point of recording this, I don't know how I'm going to put it together. I want to sincerely thank Geek Corner in Stockton on Tees for helping me out with that and giving me a lot of advice and just helping in general. I will link to everyone down below. I want to thank Andrew DFT, not only for the templates for the weapons and the tutorials on YouTube, but also for actually speaking to me one-to-one. He was really helpful, and he was very accommodating to me at a time in his life where he said in his videos that he was extremely busy. So I want to thank you very much sincerely. Thank you for taking the time to message me. Gotta say I was a little starstruck. And I want to thank my partner and my daughter, in particular my partner, for being really accommodating with me, because it's been a difficult time for both of us, obviously, and she's basically let me do all this crazy shit without kicking off at me for it and giving me a hard time over it. So I want to thank you, and thank you all for watching, in particular for watching the whole of this massive video, and I hope to see you out there. If anybody wants anything making for them, if I can do it for you, I will. Comment, I will give you an email address to send things to. That's it. It's been a hell of a journey. My journey into cosplay has been a strange one. Also, Nukes, I still want that pistol off you, dude. Like, we've got to talk about that, okay? Just hit me up sometime. Give me a shout. We'll talk. All right. In all honesty, I'm like, yeah. Oh, Nukes, you haven't given me the pistol. Well, I haven't paid him for it either. So.